Hello, I'm Craig. I go by the Mad Bioengineer on social media. I'm a bioengineer with a PhD, and I talk about science on social media.
What is a bioengineer?
So it's a person that uses the concepts of like biology and math to address problems in the real world. So you're using a lot of mathematical concepts, modeling, doing all these different things to address some issue, whether it's in medicine, healthcare, or in a wide variety of fields. It could be agriculture, chemistry. So bioengineers really do a lot of different things. It's a really diverse field.
How did you get interested in bioengineering? Like, because I remember being in high school and I heard about that as like a field, and I wanted to do it because somebody told me that like bioengineering majors almost always got accepted into medical school. And then I found out how much math you had to do, and I abandoned
I actually got
it.
interested in it. So in my high school, we had to do like a shadow project. We had to shadow a person in a career that we wanted to do. And I ended up shadowing a bioengineer in a plant science lab. And for
Very
that
cool.
kind of shadow for that semester, I ended up taking a tobacco plant and making it express green fluorescent protein. And
Wow.
I just thought that was the coolest thing. I made this plant glow in the dark.
Yeah, for
And so
sure. That
that got
is.
me interested in like and genetics, and it kind of went from there. And then it kind of expanded. I learned about nanotechnology, and then it's like there's all these cool things you can do with bioengineering, and that just kind of the more I learned, the more I just kind of fell in love with it, and the more it's kind of opened different avenues for me to be excited about.
Yeah, that is so cool. Like, I can't imagine if I had made a plant glow in high school, I definitely probably would have been more committed to bioengineering, just thinking about it as a potential path. So, like, how did you, is that like same fascination what got you into content creation, or did you start doing it in a different way?
So I've really always been interested in kind of this like outreach style activities, talking about science, mentoring, and you know, I would do it all throughout undergrad and then throughout grad school as well. But then the pandemic hit, and I couldn't really do the outreach that I was doing previously. Everything in person had to stop. So I was looking at other platforms or avenues that I could do this type of outreach work at, and I started posting on social media. So it literally started like during the lockdown, I think, or maybe right before it.
Yeah, like a lot of people kind of, that's, I mean, that was great. That was good timing to get started because a lot of people were there and able to like access your content and watch. Like when you got started, what was kind of like like when you first began, what was that like when you first started posting on social media?
Oh, it was daunting. It might not seem like it now, but I had like a fear of public speaking, and but posting on social media, it's actually really helped me to get over that, and I just kind of don't think about it anymore. It's that fear of being perceived in a sense.
So
So,
how did you get yourself to like post in the beginning when you still had like that fear of public speaking and the fear of
well,
perception?
I just did it, and I just kind of didn't care, didn't look back at the videos. So really, just actually just doing it, even if I had to like record a script while again read that script while
Mhm.
doing it, I did it. So I wanted to get that message out there because I knew that was what was really important, and that was what was interesting to me. Because I found all this science that I was doing interesting, and my thought was, well, other people probably do too. So I want to share that, and I don't care if I'm like nervous doing it.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely know, like, when I first started, I kind of had the same thing of, like, I would be so nervous about it. I would have to, like, click post, throw my phone away, and go.
And run out the room. Yep.
Yes, because otherwise I would, like, just delete it immediately. And it's like those mind games you play with yourself in the beginning. So, like, from then to now, how have things changed, like, with the process?
So not much has really changed. For some ideas, I really want to hit certain points. So I'll, give myself bullet points or like a loose script. But for other things, it's kind of just really off the cuff. Um, but so for some things, like it'll take more time on the front end to actually prepare to make the post because I have to find like graphics and diagrams or like examples of images or whatever. And that takes time to do. A lot of the time is spent on doing that and not actually figuring out what I want to say.
So do you where are you mostly posting?
So I primarily post on TikTok. I need to get better about posting on Instagram and other platforms. I started up a YouTube channel. I've been somewhat consistent about posting there, but I'm trying to think about what long form content I want to post on
Mhm.
there. And I recently talking with some of my followers, they would like to see some science movie reviews. So looking at like the
Nice.
science accuracy in some movies. And this kind of all started from a post talking about fomites. Fomites are like inanimate like objects that can transmit diseases. So like a surface
Okay.
that someone touched, that was they just wiped their nose and then touched the
Mhm.
doorknob, and then someone goes behind them and grabs that same doorknob. That's a fomite.
Right. Okay.
And other people were saying, "Oh, I learned this word from the movie Contagion that was posted in like 2011." And so it's like, "Oh, that'd be a really great movie to review." And then we got into a conversation of what other movies would y'all like to see, or what other movies have like, or that you think have really good science representation in them. And so I kind of evolved from there.
Nice. So was that a conversation like in the comments of a post or like on a live?
So it was in the comments of a post. It started there, but then I think I held a live not long afterwards, and then it got brought up there too. And so we started talking about it, and then listing out a bunch of different movies. So, I think in the comments from that post, there's a bunch of different like movie recommendations to watch. So that'll be fun, I think, and that I think that'll
Yeah.
give me some short and long form content, and I think it'll be pretty interesting too.
Yeah, that sounds really fun and interesting. That's like something that I've thought about doing in the past and never actually done. Because like I'll use so I think you're aware I teach high school.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'll like use movies in class to teach sometimes. And so it seemed I was like, this could be a reasonable social media thing. But for me, my attention span is such that I have a really hard time sitting through movies. So I don't think it's gonna be up my alley, but I would be very interested in watching yours.
Yeah, so I think, depending on how you do it on social media, it could go really well. It could work for either short form or long form because you could take different snippets from the
Yeah.
movies and, just kind of paste them together into like a short video, or if you're doing like the extended cut on maybe like your YouTube, you post like longer sections and series
Yeah, for
discussions
sure.
about that. So I'm still toying around with the idea. But another thing I've been really toying around with is informal STEM learning.
Okay.
And I've been kicking around this idea of applying to this grant program that the NSF, the National Science Foundation, has. It's called the NSF AISL. It's Advancing Informal STEM Learning. And so they offer grants to do this. It has to be informal. It can't be like formal education. So I'm thinking about how I can take social media and combine it with what some of the things that the organization I work with now does. I'm working still on my campus in a center there related to cancer research. So we're talking about cancer education. So how do we combine social media with the kind of the research background?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I would love to hear how that turns out because that is that's a really I think that's a really innovative way to think about it. And I think it's something that a lot of other scientists might be interested in like thinking through of realizing that there might be grant money like from
Yeah,
NSF or another like NIH or something toward that can actually be used towards content creation.
yeah. And I'm just trying to. Really in the early stages of writing this grant right now. I'm trying to work on like a 1 page summary, trying to figure
Mhm.
out what exactly we want to do. But I probably will post something soon just to talk with the community, more so the scientists in the community that I've built, to figure out what we could do and how we could work together. Because I envision this being something that is collaborative and has multiple sites and has multiple like moving parts that all work together to do this.
Yeah, I love that. It definitely keep me updated because I'm so
Yeah,
curious. I want to see how
definitely
it
will.
turns out. It's like speaking of like that community, like so what are some things you think you've done like within the time you started posting that like has helped you to build this really strong community?
So one of the core things that I really wanted to start doing when I went on social media, so in my undergrad and graduate school process, I went to primarily white institutions, PWIs,
Mhm.
and one of the issues I've had is like a lack of community. I haven't seen a lot of people that look like us
Yeah.
in these classes or in these majors. So one of the things that I really was intentional about when I started posting on social media and, being, active on social media was building community, finding other Black scientists. So I wanted to
Mhm.
see us,
Mhm.
represented. So a lot of the people that I interact with on a daily basis on social media are other Black scientists and engineers. I wanted to have these people that, I could, rely on for certain things, or, just talk about our experiences. Or, if I don't have a certain answer to something and they're knowledgeable about it, I may be able to point someone else in their direction. I want to have that network, of people that could help each other.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's something because like creating content, it can be a very like solo experience,
Yeah.
but the community and the networking piece of it matters a lot.
Yes. It's kind of interesting because once I started posting on social media, then my network started to grow rapidly, both in person and online. But there would be people that would come up to me on my campus and say, "Hey, I saw your videos you post on TikTok." It's like, "Oh, you saw me? Oh no!"
I know, I know.
But no, like it was really cool because the president of NESB and Nobuche saw my stuff and was like, "Hey, you should come, chat with our organization, come be part of our
Sweet.
organization." So, like, things like that. So, I realized how powerful social media can be from doing things like that. Or even things like I've had mutuals who are going back to school and they need help fundraising for books or things like that. And, being able to, if I can't directly help, I can lead other people to help
Yeah,
them. That's powerful. I see the power of community, with that alone.
yeah, for sure. And I think I remember when that trend was going around about people trying to like pay off debt with
Yeah, yeah.
videos, and you were like, "Well, I don't need it, but I want to monetize some videos for other people." That was really cool. So I know that you go live pretty often.
I try to.
I mean, way more than I do, which is never. And it's something that I keep telling myself I'm going to try, but I can't throw away my phone when I go live like I could when I first started. Like like when I first started posting, I could like post and ghost and run away and pretend I hadn't done it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't do that on live. So how did like I know you mentioned like at the beginning of this whole thing, you had like some anxiety about speaking out loud and like the being perceived. How did you push past that to like going to the live spaces?
That's a little bit more difficult, actually. I will say that, at first, because like, not only do you have to look, like, you will make mistakes when you're talking or whatever. You'll bite your tongue or whatever. It happens. It's human. So I call myself as like, well, everyone does this, but like, this is more like an uncut kind of just stream of consciousness that's happening on the live. You're seeing me, uh, and I just like, well, you're gonna see me, so I'm just doing what I normally do. So I'm just recording it now. So like,
Yeah, I think I
I just try
actually
to get past that. It's like, well, I'm just, like, cooking, or I'm like, yesterday I was on live, I was building some furniture because, again, moving to a new apartment, so
yeah.
it was just chatting, and then I think late last night I was talking with, Nikki meteorologist. We were
Mhm.
on live just chatting about various different topics. Oh,
That's really interesting because like I know the few times I've been able, not been able, the few times I've gone live for more than about 10 minutes before bailing has been with somebody else.
yeah, I saw your live with Evan the bioethicist. That was a really interesting live.
That was my first time ever doing it and I was terrified. And actually, I think I was late, a little late because I hadn't set up my live settings yet because I didn't realize it was something I had to do.
Yeah, it takes a lot. I didn't realize, like, having to do lives and all these things, it takes a lot of there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes you have to set up
Yeah.
for. Like, all the lighting and the microphones and all that stuff.
Yeah, because like Evan had intended for me to like launch my own live and then be added as a guest. So like we would
Yeah,
both kind of have the lives, but you have to have already like done the whole live experience to be able to do
yep,
that. So
yep.
I had to be pulled as a guest from the audience. But yeah, so like it's a lot going live is just a very different experience for me. But it sounds like you kind of approach it as a almost like a big brother house type situation just with the chat that you
Yeah,
respond to.
kind of. It depends on what I'm doing. Like, I try to do lives in the lab sometimes when I was working in the bench because I'm no longer at the bench anymore. I'm more focused on creating educational material at across different levels. So for the public, and then for different levels in school. So like, high school, primary school, and also like undergraduate, graduate school level. So I'm kind of doing that. work now. It's very different from working at a bench. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know for a fact you have way, way, way more bench research experience than me. But I would imagine that that one I get what I remember from doing bench research was that like being a lot of it was alone and that most of the writing was very technical writing
Yeah.
versus education. You're gonna be in it like the educational arm of things, you're interacting with a lot more different people and your writing style has to change quite a bit.
Yes. Yes. And you have to be able to speak to a bunch of different rooms, and that's a very difficult skill to develop. And I'm still developing it as I go along.
Do you think social media has helped you with that at all?
Yeah, I think so, because now I'm interacting with the public, so I have to be able to speak to them in a way that they understand. I can't use a bunch of scientific jargon. I can't
Mhm.
hide behind it. If I don't know how to explain something without using that jargon, that tells me, well, I need to get better at doing this. And so it's like a continual process. I have to refine how I speak, how I communicate.
Yeah, I think that was one advantage I had kind of coming into the whole TikTok thing was that because I taught, I had a lot of practice at translating things.
Yeah.
Um, and so I do wonder about kind of that learning curve for scientists who decide to like to go into like content creation and doing education with the public of like learn that kind of learning curve of how to communicate the science in a friendlier way.
This is something I think about so often. I've like for the past couple of months, I've just been thinking about I want to make a workshop on this exact thing. How do we get scientists to be able to talk to non-scientists like non-scientists
Mhm.
and not make it seem it's like an us versus them kind of thing, or putting the scientists on a pedestal. Like I want
Yeah.
it to be natural and to be organic, and I want to figure out what I can do to help that process along. So the answer I've been looking at right now is making a workshop series on science communication.
Yeah, I've been working on something similar. I was just like yes, literally yesterday writing down like a list of videos that like I think I'm gonna do on TikTok of like, look,
Okay.
if you want people to listen to you, these are some things like you gotta look at you gotta change your language.
Hey, yeah,
And I've been
yeah, exactly.
brainstorming about something similar. And I would love to see like more of science content creators who have been successful doing that type of work.
I look forward to that kind of content. So when you post those videos, tag me in them because I want to.
I will. But yeah, because I would really love to see, like, I would like to see, like, I would love to see what you come up with. Like, I think there should be a lot of those types of like workshops or courses or ebooks or whatever out there.
And there's not like informal education or informal like grad school training. Like you're not really trained on speaking.
No.
Like I mean, yes, like the technical writing and like technical talks, you're trained on that, but like just generic communication, that's not really a skill that is trained very well. And I just graduated last year, so it's really fresh in my mind about my experiences in grad school and the training that I received. So just thinking about that is like there can be a lot of things that can be changed and that need to change for the better.
Yeah. Cause like I know of like a few SciComm like workshops or intensive things, but most of them are like kind of like exclusive or you have to like apply to go and get in. Cause like there was one that I applied to and I was going to go to, but then I ended up having to go back to the classroom instead of being continue to be in grad school that year and had to go to work. So I
No,
couldn't
that's
go.
I understand that.
But like, and so like, I really wanted to go to it because I was like, well, I want to learn more about doing SciComm. But because they only hold it within this particular time of year and
Yeah.
it's specifically for grad students, so then I graduated and it was too late. And so, yeah, I was just like, I hope you come up with your workshop and you put it out there. And I hope we start to see like more of that from folks that are making science content because I definitely think it's a field that needs to be expanded.
Yeah, it's a soft skill that really needs to be worked on, and I think it helps a lot with public perceptions of science.
Yes. Yes. And that is one of my
Another thing that really kind of irks me is how the media talks about science.
mhm.
So it's kind of like a series of lenses or like games of telephone. Like I can talk to the media, but the people that are interviewing me, for example, might get something out of it, and that's completely different than what I was trying to convey. And
Yes.
so I think even having more scientists in the communication spaces will help with the narratives that the media portrays about sciences and
Yes,
science.
absolutely. Absolutely. I had a brief period when I think I was in grad school, or maybe just before, where I just would get so incensed and write these long Facebook posts about why I was like, for the love of God, please. But what I've come to realize is like that sort of thing doesn't actually change anybody's mind because you're coming at them so aggressively,
Yeah,
they can't receive it. It feels like an attack.
yep. And you have to figure out, you have to come at it from a level where it's just like a conversation.
Yeah. And it's like I understand how you got to this point and I want to help and I want to just be like, here's another perspective to consider. I'm not necessarily like I understand
Yeah,
how you got here. Just consider this.
yeah, yeah. I completely understand.
Yeah. So when you think about like creating content, what are some of your favorite things to talk about?
Hmm, favorite things to talk about. Well, I do a lot of cancer research, so I talk about cancer a lot. But really, like genetics and nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is one thing that I really love talking about because it does not make a lot of sense, and it's something that you don't interact with on a daily basis. So when people hear about these things, like, oh, that's cool. Oh, there's nanotechnology in this thing, in this thing, in this thing. Like it's all around us, and people don't realize it. And so, I'll bring up the fact that, like, oh, have you ever seen like the QLED TVs? The Q stands for quantum dot. So those are semiconductor nanoparticles that glow and they emit really precise colors. So by changing the size of those nanoparticles, you get different colors. So that's why those TVs have like really high definition colors. And that's why they're also so expensive. They're filled with nanotechnology. Or like if you've ever seen a pregnancy test, they use gold nanoparticles. So like there's like it's everywhere.
Yeah. I love stuff like that because I think that that too is part of changing like this perception of science as this thing of like, why do I need to know this? Like, well, because it's everywhere.
Yeah, or there was a video I posted fairly recently talking about this person was asking why their meat was like iridescent
Mm,
because they had like washed it. They had some beef and like part of the muscle was iridescent and another part wasn't. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, I know the answer to this. It's because the way it was cut, you cut the muscle fibers in such a way that it created diffraction grating, and that diffraction grating was scattering all the light, and so it made the meat look like a rainbow. And so it's just like a physical phenomenon that's happening,
Yeah.
and you don't really think about these things unless you kind of know about this. Like, that's weird. I mean, like, and I know the answer is like, that's cool, but here's the answer for it.
Yeah. I think the answer makes it cooler. Like,
Yeah.
and maybe that's just the type of nerd I am. But like when I see something and I'm like, I don't know why this is happening. Well, now I know it's so much better now.
And so, yeah,
So
that spawned a bunch of videos from like other questions, like how do you get like holographic chocolate, or is that why
nice.
certain butterfly wings are like this? Like, yes, yes, it's nanostructures and it's like diffraction grading. It's like all these cool things.
That's another reason why I really appreciate your content is because it is and like I'm sorry, I really appreciate a lot of the new like science content creators that I'm seeing is that it's really science for adults who
Yeah,
are is curious about the world and most like broader, bigger science communication like TV, like media that we see is really aimed at kids. Like we're trying to get them interested in it so they can go get a career in it. And it's just like, but also adults are curious about it. Even if they say they hate science and they have nothing to do with it, as soon as you like you put that little piece of curiosity out there and people want to know.
yeah. So one of the things that I try to convey is that like childlike sense of wonder. Like I want people to have that fact. I want people to ask questions like, why is that? Who found this out? Or like, how did people find this out? Like,
Mhm.
I want people to start asking those questions because when you ask those questions, it makes you skeptical of a lot of things, which is so it's not necessarily bad. It's good to be skeptical of a lot of things, but especially concerning misinformation because there's so much
So,
misinformation on social media. And so one of the things that I try to do as well is get people to ask questions like, how can you prove this? Like, what
mhm.
what are the steps that you could take to figure this out if this is true or not? And I want people to be able to take away that lens of critical analysis And so I've been doing a couple videos on that, talking about different types of kind of devices or people will use on social media to drive engagement. And so I'm talking about like rage farming or things like that, or other ways that people will, take misinformation and run with it, and how they'll convey it and, make money off of it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's so important, and that is one of the reasons why, like, the things that we've been talking about when it comes to science content creation are so important. With like give people that level of more comfort with science, and also just being like, just think through it. Like, let me give you the tools to help you be able to think through this critically. So when you think about like when you were a beginner content creator, if you could give that like you back in 2020 advice from today, what would you say?
Just post the content. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Don't care how people perceive you, or just post the content.
How do you think, or do you think that, like, well, I mean, you've already talked about it a little bit. So, like you mentioned, getting some more opportunities and it kind of decreasing this fear of public speaking. But are there other ways that you feel like having been in content creation for these years has impacted you?
So, like, I guess it's just I think it's helped me to be more open to talking, with other people and doing the uncomfortable things, and, just doing something, well, it's changed my attitude as far as, like, kind of almost like moving through life is like, well, why not do it? So, because like, when I first started content creation, I was, like, making excuses for myself. Well, when I hit this metric, I'll buy myself this, or when I do this,
Yeah.
I'll buy myself this, or like, but it's like things I needed, like, oh, like my ring lamp, or like my lapel mics, or all these other things.
Hmm.
It's like, no, just do it because it'll help your content. It'll make it more accessible. It'll make it higher quality. Just do it. Obviously, if you have the funds to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wasn't like I was uncertain. It's like, well, is this something I should be spending money on? Because like I'm
Hmm.
living on a grad student budget. So like, should I be worried about doing this right now, or should I focus on other things that are more important? But it's like, what? This is something I'm passionate about. Just do it. If you're passionate about it, the money will come back.
Yeah. And I think that that is really important. And I'm starting to have like some conversations with other people I know who make content now about this, because I've started to realize that I feel like I'm a lot more open than I was before I started this whole thing as well. And I feel like it's helped me to kind of almost get to know myself better.
Yep, I would definitely say that because there are times where I just don't feel like making content, and so it's like, what? I'm not gonna push through. I'm just gonna take a
Hmm.
break. I'm gonna set boundaries. It's also helped me a lot better with setting boundaries because, being on social media, you could be on there 24/7. It's very
Yes.
easy to do because there's always something happening. There's always discussions being had. There's always comments to answer. And, at some point, it's like you can't let it dictate your life. And, I've taken those lessons and applied it to other aspects of my life, because like, I started towards the end of my PhD, or well, I guess towards the middle of my PhD. And it helped me to set boundaries with like research and with
Hmm.
lab work and all these other things and people in my lab. So it's like it's helped me to be better about doing that too.
Yeah, and that is so important. Like I can definitely see how it's helped me to set boundaries around my job, because it's like, well, I have these other things I want to do and I enjoy. Let's not take the job home.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You good? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it took a it's, I don't know. Yeah, let's just have a sip of water. So I know like a common, like I don't even know if it's common. I saw a news article that claimed that like a lot of scientists will start doing content like in grad school, and then when they graduate, they kind of gets left behind. Can you talk about how you navigated like that switch, because you've continued to make content after graduation?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult because like I'm not in the lab anymore, or I don't really spend much time in the lab anymore. So it's like that's primarily what a lot of my content was focused on at first is like, me being in lab, showing you kind of a behind the scenes of what science is like.
Mhm.
Or like, what like day to day as a scientist, what does that look like? Now it's more focused on like, more broader topics. So I might just be talking about cancer research in a broader sense, not showing you my cancer research. I'm just talking about cancer research over like a broader spectrum,
Yeah.
just
And
as an
then
example. Yeah.
And then I know like you do gaming content as well. What got you brought thought
What got me interested in gaming
what
content?
yes.
I mean, so I grew up watching like streamers and watching all that and, wanting to do it. And, now I have the means to do that. So it's like, well, why not do that? Like, it's something fun that I can do and I can link up with other mutuals doing it too. Because
Mhm.
I played some games with like Tyus and Nick
Oh, cool.
Immunologist. We played like Helldivers together or some other games. And then Nick a couple weeks back had like the Jeopardy
Yeah,
was it
the game
Jeopardy or
night.
something else? It was like a
It
card
wasn't
game.
Trivial Pursuit. It
A
was like
trivia,
a
yeah.
History Channel some
Yeah, it was
box
like a
game.
trivia game. So we did that and like that was really fun. That was a bunch of our mutuals.
Yeah,
We were just on there cracking up and
that was a blast.
that was fun. So doing things like that, that's super fun and it's engaging and it's humanizing the scientists because like
Mhm.
you people you only see typically this one aspect that people will portray on social media, and now you're seeing
Yeah,
like the unfiltered, uncut, just people having fun, not just necessarily talking about science or being scientists. I mean, we
yeah,
still do talk about science during that, but it's like it's to the wayside almost. It's like just because we're scientists, we're going to talk about science. It's not like the main goal.
yeah. Yeah, that was a really good time, and it is like, yeah, science comes up because it's like we're all a little nerdy, and it's gonna happen. But it's not the point is to have fun,
Yeah,
and like so I'm thinking like almost like a like somebody should do like a Scientist After Dark series. It doesn't have to be,
yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna write that down. Oh, where's my notebook? That's a great idea.
yeah. I don't want to run it, but somebody should do it.
No, so actually, we're talking about this last night. Nick was thinking about doing things like that. It's August, right? Yeah.
It is.
Today's no, I like that. Because Nick, we were talking last night, and he wants to do like a Jeopardy thing, like a tournament style Jeopardy.
Mm,
So I last night after the live was over, I made a list of a bunch of different science or science adjacent content creators, and it's like we're gonna do this.
yeah,
This is
that
gonna be
sounds
fun,
fun.
and we're gonna have a bunch of scientists and science communicators talking about science. And I was even thinking about like how can we like incorporate all these different things into it. It's like because like I was like a category could be like misinformation for like 500.
Hmm.
Because like we're talking about common misinformation and actually provide like correct information while doing that.
Yeah, I love that idea. That sounds really fun. Yeah. And then I love the game idea because I guess a little under a year ago, I thought about that. I was like, I want to do like some gaming content because there are a lot of like science themed board games.
Yeah.
And then I like to play Zelda
Yes.
and I
Oh,
think
the
about
new.
ecology
I
all the
have
time.
seen the
I
new Legend
haven't
of
played
Zelda
the new
game.
one yet. I haven't played the new one
Tears
yet.
of the Kingdom. I want to get a Switch just for that game, and I
I
see
love
all like the
Switch.
creative things that people do with that game. It's like that's cool. I want to play it. I want to do those things too.
Yeah. I still am playing Breath of the Wild.
Such
Um
a good game.
it's chef's kiss.
Perfect.
Um, but like I think about ecology all the time when I'm playing it, and because I like some of the time I like to think of through like the time it takes things for to respawn,
Mm,
and like kind of like the eco justice of the Zelda universe
yeah. No.
because that is the type of nerd that I am. But kind of like through there, and I think one of the first conversations I had with you on socials was I was like, I would really love to just see like a nerdy game of scientists playing D&D. And you mentioned that you like had a group that you played with.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have a. Well, we haven't played in a while, but I would love to like play with a bunch of other scientists. I don't know how to run that, but like because I've only
Me either.
played, I could never. I don't know if I would be able to do like a or be a game master. That's because that's difficult.
Yeah.
But I would love to, incorporate, have being a scientist or having scientists play D&D because like just wacky stuff will happen. So my group is a bunch of other scientists and engineers and doctors. So
Hmm.
like most of us are, yeah, actually no, all of us are biomedical engineers. Some of us are doctors, some of us are
Nice.
researchers, some of us are, just in industry.
Yeah.
And so like our poor GM, he is like he was a physicist, but he went and instead and got because he was interested in like art and history. So he's like a creative writing. So,
Nice.
but he has that science background as well. And so we'll just get up to shenanigans. Like I remember one time Have you heard of like a powder explosion or a dust explosion?
Mm-mm.
So basically, it's a problem with like places like grain elevators.
Okay.
The grain will create dust, and that dust is flammable.
Yes.
So any type of spark or anything can cause explosions. So what I did, so my character's a dragonborn, like a draconic bloodline sorcerer. So and he has like a bronze dragon ancestry, so like lightning and fire. So one thing I did, we were going to this underground dungeon, and we had like seen some like zombies come out of it. It was like, hold up, I have an idea. And so what I did is I had Mage Hand. I took a 5 pound bag of flour because it can carry up to 10 pounds. So I took
Yeah.
a 5 pound bag of flour, made it go inside like the underground area, and then I shook the bag of flour. I aerosolized it, and then I shot
Mm.
a
Set it
firebolt
on
in
fire.
there and created an explosion.
Nice. Very nice.
And he was like, the DM was like, "What the hell are you doing?" And so I sent him a video of what I just did. It's like,
I
and now my group, whenever I like ask random questions, it's not random. It's like
Yeah, they're
I'm
like,
gonna do an inside check on what he's doing that for.
there's a plot here.
There's it's like you can't buy any more flour. We are restricting you from buying flour now. It's like, and
Yeah,
so
I
like the
love
goal
that.
was like anything's a weapon in the right hands.
Mhm. Yes. Yes,
So
I
you just have
love
to be
that.
creative, and like that was like super creative.
Yes. I love
Or
that so much.
in the current campaign, because we like had a really long break, like for a couple
Mhm.
months, and so he like did this thing where like the big bad evil guy won essentially, and our bodies were like transported into other bodies, and so I became like this plasmoid entity, it's like an amoeba, like a giant amoeba, basically. And so I'd seen this video recently of spiders. They're basically powered by hydraulics. So when spiders are alive, they control their limbs hydraulically. So that's why when spiders die, they curl up. They're no longer supplying those hydraulic pressure for their limbs to, move out. And so I was this like boneless plasmoid entity. So what I did is we killed like this giant spider. So I was telling my GMs like, hey, I'm this slime entity. I am like I can control my body like this. Can I control this spider like a
Yep. Yep. I knew it as soon as you said it, I knew where you were going.
so it's like he was like, I'll allow it, but you have to like attune to it, and you can only do this for right now until you hit certain milestones. Like, okay, that's cool. I'll
Yeah.
take it. I'll take it.
That is really fun, and that is like and that energy is exactly why I was like, I would love to play D&D with just like a group of nerdy ass scientists. But yeah, and then I know, you know who else you should reach out to about the game night is Sage,
Sage the bad
the bad
naturalist.
natural. Yes,
Yeah,
because when I
yeah.
mentioned doing gaming stuff,
Yep.
she
She was on the
was
list.
yeah, she was like she would definitely be interested in something like that when I mentioned it and
Yeah, hold up. I'm
like
trying
a
to
year
pull out my
ago.
list now. Yeah, here was the list. It was like
Oh wow.
so
Very nice. But yeah, yeah. And so I would love to see. I'm excited for that, and I want to see more of that too. So like, since we're kind of like on this topic, what are some things that you would like to see happening, like within the science content space that you like would want to see either you doing or another creator
more
doing?
collaboration. So I want more like cross posted or like crossover type videos or content. I've done a couple with like Kim Thug or like Mirinda. She does like soap making content. So I've done a couple with that and a couple with a couple other creators, but like it's hard to find that intersection
Hmm.
sometimes. But I think it makes for really interesting content when we do it, really interesting discussions. Because just being in lives with other science content creators, we like the science just goes off the rails. Like we talk about all these different topics, and it's like I love doing that. It's so much fun, and it sounds like other people love it too.
Yeah.
People don't have the access to like the education of the science if you're not like a university, really,
Hmm.
because a lot of things are behind paywalls now. So if you can actually be in the room with scientists talking about these things, you can learn so much.
Yeah, that is very true. Cause like that has been kind of frustrating for me recently because like I've been out of school long enough now that they have revoked my access to everything. But like I'll still enter library loan as much stuff as my local library will let me get away with.
Hey,
But it is very different from like when you're no longer with an institution. Even just that comment you just made has me like I wonder what it would look like if we like there was just like a live that was brainstorming these collaborations. So maybe
yeah,
go live on
I've
TikTok
been
one
toying
day
around with
to
that idea too. I
brainstorm.
just haven't had the time to sit down and like talk with other people, reach out to other people, and say, "Hey, let's do this. Let's sit down and talk about these things and figure
Mhm.
out how we can do these things because I think it'd be really beneficial to everyone, both other scientists and science content creators and the general public.
Yeah, I'm suggesting like maybe like just to the people who you think you want to do with, be like, can we all go live at this time and then just have the conversation on live?
Okay. No, I like that idea. Just gonna write some stuff down. Sorry. Give me one
Oh
second.
no, you're good.
What would you call it? Like a science brainstorming?
Yeah, or like a content collab brainstorm session or something.
Okay, yeah. No, I definitely like that idea because I think a lot of people would be really interested in something like that.
Yeah, and then if you do it like a couple, like maybe you can just like a couple different times, catch different people, and different people can do them.
Yeah,
So like whoever like for different availability might be
I
interesting.
would love to do something like that because there's so many people that are really passionate about like science creation and science communication.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'd be really like it'd be something that would be really popular.
Yeah. And yeah. And I think it would do well, like, yeah, like you meant, I think you said earlier, like with like people who just want to know more about science and with people who are like in science and people who want to get into science content creation because it's kind of like it's talking about science and you can kind of see how the sausage gets made all at the same
I
time.
love that.
So as we wind down, I would love for you to tell me just like three things that are just really bringing you joy these days. It could be music recommendations, book recommendations, a game, whatever.
Okay, so I started reading web novels and I
Okay.
found this sci-fi fantasy alien crossover. It's fan made. It's called My Vampire System.
Okay.
So the concept behind it is Earth. It's like Earth or humanity had just finished a war with these aliens, and people, to beat these aliens, people, were using these powers that were fairly recently discovered. So people have
Okay.
like abilities, and it can be very broad. But the main character, he doesn't have an ability, but his parents give him this book. So you could either get abilities either through learning them from books or just originally having them. You're called an original if you have them much
Okay.
like that your family has them. But the main character had this book, and he didn't know how to open it. His parents died during the war, so this book was just like passed down through his family, and it was given to him by his parents. He didn't know how to open it until one day he bled on the book, and that opened the book, and it turned him into a vampire or like a halfling technically, but still a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
And so since it's like still in this like society where it was like just got over this war, there was like a truce negotiated between the aliens and humans. So
Okay.
all of the humans, they have to at age 16, they have to do 2 years of military service. So he's like just getting these vampire powers, which are not like common. This is not something that is like heard of by humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to keep this a secret, and he has to also like navigate this kind of system where it's like might makes right. So
Gotcha.
whoever is like stronger is what size is right. And so this is
Mm-hmm.
like very prevalent in this military academy. And the military kind of encourages it because that, makes for stronger people and also allows them, if you don't have an ability, well, here's this earth ability. You can control earth. So what they're doing is they're, giving people these earth abilities. But, you know, if you have an earth ability, the military controls that. So you can only get stronger if they allow it. So you have to kind of pledge your allegiance to the military.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he has to navigate all these things while gathering power and trying to hide the fact that he's a vampire. And so it's like it's sci-fi, it's fantasy. Uh, it's like 2,000 plus chapters. I think it's like 5 or 6 years old. Um, I'm on chapter like 600 right now. I've been reading it like for the
Wow.
past 2 weeks. Uh,
What's the name again?
My Vampire System,
My Vampire System. That sounds really interesting.
and it's a web novel.
I love a good web novel. I am also a child of the internet.
I never like read web novels before, or never read many of them. I've like watched web novels that have been turned into animes. Really good, like Solo Leveling. That's really amazing. So like, I'm definitely going to be reading more web novels now.
Yeah,
I highly encourage you to read it. I've been enjoying it.
I'll definitely check it out. Why can't I remember the name of that website now? Which is, I'm going to be disowned by fellow children of the internet who spent too much time reading the little mini blogs. Live Journal.
Yeah,
I was a live journal girl, a Tumblr girl, fan fiction, all of it.
yeah.
So I am no stranger to reading on the internet.
So, yeah, I've
I will
been, like,
definitely check it
obsessed
out.
with it the past couple weeks. Like, if you were to see me out in public, I'm just, like, head in my phone, just, like,
Hmm.
reading.
So if anybody watches this and you're like, why haven't we heard from Jordan in weeks? It'll be because I have been consumed.
It's so good. Like, and, like, it's a little rough around the edges, but it's good. It's really good. And I've heard that it might be being animated or turned into some animated product. So that's exciting. Uh,
I'll definitely check it out. Yeah, that's I'm not gonna get off fully off topic and go out way down this trail. But things like web novels are one of the reasons that I'm always like, kids read more than we think they do. Like whenever people are
yeah.
like, they're in their phone, they're in their phone, they're in their phone. I'm like, but you don't know they're not
What are they
reading.
doing on their phone?
Yeah, we gotta ask some questions. All right, two more things you're enjoying.
New apartment. It's really nice.
Nice.
It's definitely an upgrade. So
Great.
I'm really happy with that. What else am I enjoying right now? I built a PC a couple months ago, and now I have like a setup I can actually maybe start doing streaming now. It's really nice. The PC I built, I spent just under $3,000 on it. The goal was for it to be something I could use for both content creation and video gaming, and to
Hmm.
last for the next probably 5 or more years.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
near top of the line on everything.
that's something that is in I can't do it right now, but in the next couple of years I want to build a PC for similar with similar goals, because and I want to get up some better software because I'm kind of trying out YouTube now, and I can't edit a YouTube video on my
No,
phone the same
for
way as I'm
YouTube,
doing on TikTok.
YouTube has to be polished, like,
Yeah.
so I've noticed for YouTube, the videos have to be really, really thought out and polished and well done, but not like on TikTok. TikTok, you can post stream of consciousness and it does
Mhm.
well. Whereas YouTube, no, it has to be a fully fleshed out thought. It has to be really well edited and put together. This is not early YouTube anymore.
No, no, no. So yes, that's on my list. And there's actually a cozy gamer account I follow who her laptop apparently just gave out on her.
Mm,
And so she was saying like she was frustrated because she had been waiting, like she wanted to build a PC,
mm,
but she had been trying to be responsible about it. And just like slowly do it over time. And so now she's stuck between like, do I buy another laptop now so I can keep streaming games?
yeah.
Or I spend like take my time and build this PC. But I can't really stream during that time. I mean, I was like, I would.
Do you follow Nick the Cozy Gamer?
I don't think so.
She's a black woman cozy gamer. She does a lot of like streams while she's working, but she also does cozy gaming.
Oh yes, 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 I do, because she also does Legos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Originally followed her for the Legos, stayed for the cozy. I mean, I would have stayed for Legos too,
Let me just double
but
check, but I think it's just like in.
yeah,
But yeah, I love
yeah,
her content, and like her and a couple other people I've been following to just figure out how to work like OBS and Twitch
hmm
and all these other things because
yeah. I
I'm
want to, I
very
want
much
to
new
try
to those
Twitch.
platforms.
I want to try Twitch too, and I'm terrified of it.
Talk to Nick the Immunologist. He apparently used to
He
do
mentioned
Twitch.
it. Yeah, I remember him saying that. But yeah, so like that, the other cozy gamer account I was talking about, she's buying. So she's basically was like for the next however many months, her content like she'll do other things she does, but a lot of her content will also be like her going through this process of building the PC.
Mm,
And so
okay.
I'm really excited to watch it because it's like I want to do that and I have no idea where to start. So
Yeah. So thankfully, I had some friends that have already built like several PCs, either for the lab or for themselves. I
hmm
work with, so I talk with them. I kind of ran some ideas behind them. My twin brother, he built a PC, so I talked with him. I was like, oh yeah, and then I ended up posting like I posted my initial build on Reddit on the Micro Center Reddit, and I told them, hey,
I'm
tear
sure
it
they
apart.
did.
They
I'm
gave me
sure they
some really good
delivered.
suggestions. They made me aware of some like bundles that were I didn't know of. And so I was able to get some really nice products at a really nice discount. And so that let me spend money towards other things for my PC build.
Mm, that's good to know. Yeah. When I get around to it, I definitely will ask you some questions.
Yeah. And try to be organized about it. Make a spreadsheet, make a list, something, just that it can
It's
help
good
you
to know.
track. So some of the websites I've used, they have like software that you can punch in like different specifications, or it'll allow you to like compare different components, make
Mhm.
use of those. It's not like the end all be all, but it helps.
Yeah.
And it helps you figure out like a price point, um,
Yeah.
and look on different sources because like there can be a wide range of prices. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
definitely will. I definitely will. Thank you. Yeah, that's so interesting.
yeah. It took me like the first 3 months of this year. Literally just sat down like almost every night. I was just looking at PC parts, different deals. And so once I finally had something, I was like, you know what? I'm like, this bill can't get any better for the amount of money I'm spending. Just pull the trigger.
Mhm.
Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for whenever I get around to it. I think I want to wait till I move into a little bit bigger of a space, and because I know I don't want to stay here very much longer, and so
Honestly, like,
I'm like
like
I don't want to keep buying things
I
that
was thinking that too, but I just pulled the trigger. It's like, you know what? I know I want to move this year, but I don't want to, wait until, this time to have the
yeah
PC. So
yeah
I was surprised. I thought it was gonna be a pain moving this thing, but it wasn't that much. I kept the original box that it came in, so thankfully I just slid it back in there.
mm,
It was a little heavy, but oh, it worked out.
yeah. That's good to know. Well, thank you so much for being on.
Thank
You
you
have
for having
anything
me.
else you want to add?
No, I really enjoy this, and we should get on live soon.
We should. We should. I'm gonna get on live sometime this weekend
So and yeah,
for
we'll try to
at
invite some
least 20
other people.
minutes.
See if Tyus wants to come on. See if Nick wants to come on. I'll see if
Yeah.
Evan can get on. Is Evan still doing her series? I know she's every couple of weeks she'll do like an interview.
I believe that Evan is still I know they have a book club they do.
Okay,
I haven't seen like interviews in a while, but
okay.
I don't know if if that's my algorithm or if it's that Evan's not doing it.
I don't
So
know. I haven't been
I'll
on
have to
TikTok these
check.
past couple of weeks really because I've been packing and moving, so
Yeah,
I've
I'll
been
have to
kind of
check.
incognito.
If Evan is still doing it, I'll have to put it in the show notes because regardless, fantastic content.
Yeah, I love her content and it's always informative, and I'm always learning something from her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, and where can people find you?
You can find me on TikTok at CRG Richard, or just search the Mad Bioengineer on Instagram. Also, the Mad Bioengineer Twitch, the Mad Bioengineer, and YouTube should also be the Mad Bioengineer.